Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 4 of We Happy Few, an underrated masterpiece, which I personally think it is. So let's go ahead and just get into it and talk about the DLCs. So, Compulsion Games released 3 DLCs, one called They Came From Below, where you play as Roger and James, one called Lightbearer, where you play as Nick Lightbearer, and the last one is We All Fall Down, where you play as Mrs. Bing. So I'm going to start with They Came From Below, and throughout this DLC, we play as Roger, and it starts with us having to shoot robots and trying to save some townsfolk before we black out and then go back a few hours earlier where we are going shopping for Dr. Faraday. Now, one of the first things I noticed was just how different Wellington Wells is in this DLC because we never saw the city like this throughout the entirety of the base game. So so it's actually kind of cool to see the city like this. So we get what we need and head back to Dr. Faraday when there is a explosion at Faraday's house and you rush back. When you arrive, you see Dr. Faraday is taken away by a portal. You then have to get 3 power cells in order to reveal a hidden hatch. You go down there and then you press the button and then you and James are sent underground and then you spend the rest of the DLC trying to get out and fighting robots in order to save Dr. Faraday. Now, throughout the DLC, unlike the base game, you actually use a ray gun, so We Happy Few basically becomes like a first-person shooter, and it is honestly kind of weird, but cool at the same time. But the ray gun can also switch to an electro mace, so you basically have 2 options to fight, which is pretty cool. This DLC is pretty fun and really different from the base game, and being able to shoot with a ray gun is a lot of fun. But this DLC is very weird and much weirder than the main game. However, the second DLC is even weirder. You even end up fighting Dr. Faraday at the end of the DLC, and it's weird, it's funny, and it's just really fun to play.
When you put it that way, it does seem a bit wasteful.
We will close the portals.
Wait, what? No, don't do that.
Perhaps we can open them again one day.
We got off to a bad start. We have so much to learn from each other. Please, don't close the portals.
It is not my decision, but perhaps you can convince my people. If you cross the portal with us,
Then perhaps I can't convince you, and then I can't come back.
You have to go, Roger. You'll always wonder what you missed. In fact, if you don't go over there, I'm kicking you out of the house. So look, there's nothing keeping you here.
Then come with me, James.
What would I do there? Wherever that is, I'm not going to be much use convincing alien robots of anything.
They'll take care of us. I'll take care of you.
But I have always taken care of you.
James.
All right. I guess we're going through the looking glass then. At least they won't give us shit for being in love.
Come on. It'll be a smashing adventure. I do love you, James.
I do love you, Roger.
So now I want to go on to the next one, Lightbearer. Lightbearer starts with Nick sleeping and having a nightmare. He wakes up and he starts talking to a rat. He finds blood is on him and he has to run away from the police. He gets his guitar and then he has to start playing it in order to vibe so he can remember where his pills are. He finds a groupie in the ventilation as he is escaping, and he has to find a power cell in order to use the ventilation system. He has to fight off some groupies, then escape through the trash chute. He then comes out and heads home, and just like the last DLC, Wellington Wells looks completely different, which honestly makes me kind of wish we also explored these sides of Wellington Wells during the main game as well. However, even with these, I still think the world we did explore in the base game is better. But you go find Nick's stash of drugs after you get changed, and then all of a sudden you are small. I don't even know anymore. We have few has just gone crazy. You are very tiny, and Nick has to fight his ex-wife, and then it's revealed to be the compliment bot that he has. He wakes up, and the rest of the DLC, Nick is just trying to figure out what happened last night, why he woke up with blood on him, And instead of fighting any other time in this game, if you get into combat, you actually have to play your guitar to mind blown people, which is honestly pretty funny. But you can also throw golden records at them too, and anything that is unhealthy for everyone else is good for Nick. So like coffee, alcohol, and joy will actually heal Nick instead of like being bad for him. You end up fighting Foggy Jack at the end of it, which is a character we heard a few times in the base game from like characters as we were like going places. Which honestly, it wasn't that. Honestly, it's not that bad of a boss fight against Foggy Jack. This DLC is just so crazy and weird, but honestly, I like it. Nick was always a crazy character, even in the base game, so his DLC being even more crazy and weird is just really funny, and it isn't that bad to play. I really like it. I do prefer they came from below, but this DLC was still a lot of fun. However, we have one more to talk about, and that is We All Fall Down.
Oh, we could have had so much fun together. You and I.
You killed my fangs. And Virgil. For what? For bloody notoriety?
Avenge me, Nicky. Turn it up to 11. Finish him. Yes, finish him.
This one's for Virgil.
So in We All Fall Down, we play as Mrs. Bing, and this DLC actually starts with an interrogation scene during Ollie's playthrough, which is nice that it starts with this moment. And just like with the previous DLCs, I have to mention just how different Wellington Wells looks. Now, I know these are similar locations than, like they are much smaller locations than the base game, I mean. But I still would have liked to explore these in the base game as Arthur and Sally. But either way, it's cool seeing Wellington Wells looks like this. So Mrs. Bing goes and finds a mood booth. And she's about to take some joy, but then she stops herself. And that's when the Barbies start saying that she's a downer and she has to run away and escape them. So Mrs. Bing gets a vision of her mom, and like basically hallucination of her mom, and then sees a group of people that committed suicide. She runs to the sewers, makes her way to General Bing, and so that way, like to tell him what's going on, and she spends the rest of the DLC trying to get everybody off their joy, and so is in trying to get everybody else to wake up after seeing what Wellington Wells is actually like. Now, this is easily my favorite DLC in this game. I loved Mrs. Bing in the base game, but now having a full DLC with her, where we play as her, is great. Mrs. Bing also has a whip that she can use for either combat or getting around Wellington Wells, which is so much fun to use. Also, just exploring this new version of Wellington Wells is just so much fun, and having the whip makes it that much more fun. I also love the back and forth Mrs. Bing has with her mother in this DLC. It's really funny as well. I know I'm saying the same thing over and over again, like, especially with the gameplay, but it is just so much fun. And honestly, Compulsion games they could make an entire game with the gameplay of this DLC, and I would love it. I would love it. I would buy it. I would play it. This DLC is easily my favorite, but it might also be one of my favorite DLCs ever made. It's really up there with the main game. Yes, I really do think it's that good. And honestly, I can't believe it took me this long to play it. Honestly, like for this video, this was actually the first time I played these DLCs, and this one was fantastic. I really do love this DLC.
I am become death, destroyer of worlds. Where is everyone? Have they all gone? What's left for them, besides unhappy memories?
Oh, look. It's Miss Bing. Lovely day for it, Miss Bing.
We know what you did.
I did what had to be done.
What gives you the right?
What gives you the right?
You were all going to starve to death.
My brother did die.
The bobbies hit him a little too hard.
You lot told us everything was fine. You told us to pretend it was.
We all wanted to pretend. Don't you remember? We're all leaving. There's nothing left here.
You can go wherever you like.
Just not with us.
But I saved them. They may never forgive you for that. What else could I have done? You don't always get a bright, shiny medal for doing your duty. What did you say? That's what I always used to tell your father. Come back to India, Vicky. You miss me. And I'm probably still alive. Goodbye, Mother. I hope you'll be proud of me.
So now I need to talk about something that I've kind of been avoiding talking about with each of these videos. And that is the fact that We Happy Few has some bugs. Now I can always see some people saying that the game having bugs mean that it isn't a masterpiece or that it's not a good game because of these bugs, but I have to disagree. Personally, I don't think bugs are that big of a deal anyways, especially if they don't ruin your enjoyment of the game or don't stop your progress while playing. Like, it doesn't really matter. At most, the bugs I've noticed, it would be like a character disappearing or sitting on nothing or just freaking out, and these never ruin my enjoyment, in fact. So sometimes they got laughed out at me. And I believe that is something so many people nowadays need to understand. That you are here to have fun, and that's why you are playing video games. I have seen so many people criticize every single little thing that a game does, to the point that I honestly have to wonder, why are these people playing video games if you aren't having fun? I would see these people blame modern gaming, but I honestly think it's not the industry's fault, but yours. Especially nowadays where I'm constantly hearing about how games, they don't have a soul. They don't have a soul anymore. Developers aren't putting love into them. I keep hearing that game developers no longer care for the games they are making and just trying to make as much money as they can, but in my opinion, We Happy Few disproves all of this. Without all my playthroughs I have done for either this video or just on my own, I can feel, every bit of love that Compulsion Games put into this game. Especially when you learn how little money and resources they had, yet they still made a game this fantastic. I highly recommend everybody go watch the documentary, The Cost of Joy, that Compulsion made, talking about everything they went through to make this game. And how they knew about the bugs, but they couldn't fix it because they didn't have the resources or money. I don't know how they are now, but at the time they were making We Happy Few, they were a small studio. They got funding for this game because of fundraiser. And that's something that this game reminds you of every time you start the game. That this was made because of a fun. This wasn't. They didn't have the budget. They made it because of other people helping them, sending them money. Compulsion isn't a AAA studio like Activision or Ubisoft or Rockstar or FromSoft or Bethesda. They are small, and even with the limited resources and funding, they still made one of the best games ever. And all of this is simply from getting funding from Kickstarters that they made. And because, they didn't have any other way to get money. You can see and feel all the love they put into this game and with an industry where I keep hearing that they don't care about the products, that they don't care what they put out, that they don't care about the games. This should have been a clear example of the opposite. However, sadly, people nowadays only want one kind of game, that being games with ultra-realistic graphics where after you walk a few feet, having a cutscene happen in a game that only lasts a few hours. I keep hearing how games are not like also not doing anything new anymore. But again, We Happy Few is the clear example to prove otherwise. I have honestly never seen a game do what We Happy Few has done, whether that be with the story or the gameplay or the setting. Even the function of joy is a completely new concept that I have not seen any other game do, but I feel like most people turned away from this game and didn't even give this game a chance because of the graphics and because it isn't the latest God of War or Halo game. We Happy Few is a really long game, with Arthur's and Sally's playthrough especially being very long. And while Ollie's is short, I honestly think it was because by the time you reach Ollie, there's not really much more to explore. So but the story of Ollie's playthrough makes up for it. I remember watching somebody do a review of We Happy Few, and he admitted that he not only didn't beat the game, but he didn't even finish Arthur's playthrough because how long it was. And like when I heard that, I'm like, why are you making a review then? This is honestly why I do not like or care about reviews. Because while I really like the person who made the video, I personally feel like he didn't give the game a chance. Because he didn't even beat Arthur's playthrough. He didn't even beat the first playthrough in the game. Because it was too long for him. And, this is why I don't really care for reviewers. Because I feel like they don't give the games a chance. Reviewers, they want short games so they can very quickly go through the game and then be the first ones to release a video about the game. But We Happy Few, you can't do that. You can't do that because how long the game is. But the game makes up for this by having one of the best stories in all of gaming. It uses that long time to explain the world, to explain the story, to make sure that, you get everything that they want you to know. Throughout these 4 videos, I did multiple playthroughs of this game, and not only did I have a blast every time, but I gave this game my full attention while making these videos to show why this game is great. However, reviewers won't do something like this, and even though those people, their entire job is to play these games and make a video reviewing it, instead they don't actually put the time to play the game, and instead rush through the game, not pay any attention to the game, and then they say stupid stuff. It is honestly why, I feel like most people who, make these, reviews or just talk about video games, they don't feel genuine. They don't feel genuine when they are talking about a game. People always bring up review scores or say the same things other people have said, and it feels like they aren't giving their own opinion. We Happy Few suffered because people didn't want to give it any time, and instead listen to people who didn't even beat the game or rush to get a video out so they could get all the clicks on YouTube before everybody else so that way they could get paid. I personally love We Happy Few, and Compulsion Games are one of my favorite developers of all time, and I can't wait for their next game, whatever that may be. After finishing this video, I'm going to buy Contrast, which I believe is the first game they made because I want to support them as much as I can. I remember seeing something that said We Happy Few would be going off Game Pass, so I highly recommend everybody go and buy this game. Go and buy this game and support Compulsion and actually give this game a chance and play through it. And also, remember you are here to have fun. That's why you are playing a video game. Stop being so critical and trying to find things that will make you upset because, frankly, it's annoying and it has made me tired of game discussion videos online where people make 2-hour videos where they were 2-hour videos complaining about a game or complaining about something that frankly doesn't even matter. And nobody sounds like they actually have fun. Nobody sounds like they're being genuine. They're giving their own opinion. Instead, they're giving the message that the reviewers said, but then they're disguising it as their own opinion. And it has just made me tired of game discussion videos or video essays and all that. And they don't sound like they're having fun because negativity gives you more likes, it gives you more views. And that's just annoying and frustrating. So remember you're playing a video game. Stop acting like you're not. Either way, thank you all for watching, and if anybody from Compulsion is watching this, I want to thank you personally for making We Happy Few. It's one of my favorite games ever, and I will always love it till the day I die. Thank you all, and goodbye.
It's all or not a thing, and I never ask why. But we'll sing the same old songs into the night, and we'll take